This is Austin Real Estate Investing.
Austin Real Estate Investing.
We'll be discussing real estate investing in Austin, Texas, and bringing you experts from all different sectors of the real estate game. Your host, Jordan Moorhead, is a real estate agent and investor in Austin and is here to help you get started or to build your portfolio and explore new strategies.
Hi, this is Jordan Moorhead with the Moorhead team, and this is Austin Real Estate Investing. Today we've got Chloe Kwon on here. She's going to tell us all about her experience investing in real estate in Austin and what she's up to, what she's going to be doing next. Hey, Chloe, how are you?
Hi, doing well. How about yourself?
Doing great. Great to have you on. So excited to talk to you. Really quick, could you tell our guest who you are and how you're involved with real estate investing in Austin?
Yeah, my name is Chloe Kwon. I'm based in East Austin. I started investing about 4 years ago. I bought my primary in Austin when I got my first job in tech as a data scientist. And then I house hacked, turned it into an Airbnb. And then COVID happened. So I pivoted into sort of midterm rental. And then we can talk more about that later. And then over COVID, I started a construction company where I built AV units.
Nice. So I like all those things. I myself have done some short-term rentals, some mid-term rentals. I've interviewed a lot of guests on here with AV units, but never done it myself. So I guess my first question is, why did you switch from short-term rental to mid-term rental during COVID? And can you tell our guests a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I can just go over sort of the whole journey.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I bought my first primary, and this was my first house. I moved to Austin from Houston to go to grad school, right? I was in oil and gas before. I moved to Texas originally to go to school in Houston, Rice University. And I was in oil and gas. I was like, I don't know if I love being in oil and gas, hurting the environment and all. And so I decided to pivot. Went to grad school at UT for data science, and then, got a job right away as a data scientist for a huge retail company, right? And after that, I bought my first house thinking, it's just my primary, didn't really think too much about it. But at the time, I sort of got into the whole bigger pockets, started listening to podcasts and, got the bug, sort of say, the entrepreneur bug. So I was like, okay, I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to renovate it top to bottom and have like no renovation experience whatsoever. Right. I was like, I can do it. So I started renovating it. And one thing that I really looked for when I was looking at houses was one, obviously the price point, right? It needed to be, Austin was already hot back then, right? Yeah. So I was like, okay, price point needs to be good enough. That means that I have to buy somewhere that's developing, right? Not yet all the way developed, but it was on the path of development so that it has the chance of appreciation within a short period of time, right? So that was important for me. Second, I wanted to house hack, meaning I didn't want to like get roommates per se, that I needed to share space because I've had about 30 roommates growing up. I went to boarding school half of my life from South Korea. And so I knew that I didn't want roommates, but I wanted to not pay the entire mortgage. So I basically was looking for a floor plan where I can renovate it to the point that I can house hack as an Airbnb with no shared space with my side and their side, basically. Right. So that basically meant that I had to find a floor plan that was like half and half. Right. So like it ended up being the master bedroom and master bathroom turned into an Airbnb And then my side was my side, right? And then there's no shared space whatsoever. They have their own patio, they have their own walkway, they, all that, but nothing that's shared with me. So I don't have to worry about sort of having, other conflicts or whatnot, right? So that was really important.
So I want to stop and I want to go through that really quick, because I know that's a really awesome strategy for people. We actually haven't talked too much about that on here. So could you go over in more detail what you did to separate the master and kind of make it its own wing from the rest of the house? And just explain that for our guests.
Yeah. So if you look at the house from the front, basically the left side of a house has the master bedroom and bathroom and a huge walk-in closet. Mm-hmm. And it has a French door in the back that basically is connected with like a walkway. So like from the front of the house, you can walk on the left side, go all the way back, basically. And then I fenced it off. So they have their own private patio with like seatings and whatnot, outdoor furniture, really cute lighting and all that. And so from the French door, you walk in and it's like a huge like master bedroom. And then like the master bathroom is the size of the bedroom, right? It's like really big walk-in closet. So it takes about like half of the house, like how the house is constructed, right? And then all I just did was I don't know if this is legal, probably not, with the grist and all that, but basically I've like locked the door and then reinforced it with insulations, sound blocking materials, and then a secondary door. So like it's not openable, basically. It's like, if I were to open it again, like I'll have to like redo all the things. And then I've also done some more sound like absorption like material on the other side of the house so that we were minimizing the sound that's carried over through the wall.
Okay, awesome. And you said you made the master the Airbnb?
Yeah.
How has that gone for you? Can you are you willing to share the occupancy and the rates you're getting, stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I bought the house and renovated it. And by the time we were like ready for Airbnb was like probably October of 2019. Okay. So it was really great timing because it was right before COVID. So
yeah, exactly.
I had a good, like 5 months of just like Airbnb profit. Mm-hmm. And this is what sort of really got me into real estate and started taking real estate really seriously, was that I saw the possibility of how much money can make just with one room, right? There's no kitchen. There's like literally, there's no kitchen. You can like, there's like a kitchenette and stuff, right? Like there's like a small fridge and toasters and, like microwave and whatnot, like coffee maker, but there's no kitchen. And yet there were people that were like booking it left and right. And with Airbnb, so from the beginning, I actually intentionally hired a Airbnb manager, even though I lived there and I could manage it myself, because I like time freedom is important for me, and long-term setting systems and processes are important for me. So with their management fee sort of subtracted, I was still netting about $1,800 to $2,000 for just one room. Just one room, right? Yeah. I mean, it is East Austin, and it's pretty close to like East 6 and downtown and whatnot. Yeah. So, but it's not in like a right smack in the middle of that, right? It was making a great money, right? So it was almost covering my PITI, so my principal interest, tax and insurance is $2,250. And it was covering most of it, right? It certainly covered all my mortgage. And I was like, I looked at the numbers and I was like, as a data scientist, I love looking at numbers, right? And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I don't know why other people are not house hacking more, So that's where I really, got woke,
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're making $1,800 to $2,000 a month off Airbnb. Are you doing monthly rentals on it now, or are you back to short-term rental?
Yeah, so I've experimented a little. So with Airbnb, you can't really have 100% occupancy, right?
No.
If you do, that probably means that you're charging a little bit low, and you should increase a little bit more. So once I've done about 5 months of Airbnb, and then COVID hit, right? And then all of a sudden they canceled the entire like few months of booking right when that happened, right? Or people started canceling, and then Airbnb was honoring those cancellations, right? So I quickly had to find out, I'm like, I have this room that's like basically set up and, furnished. So I put the Airbnb on Furnish Finder, which is sort of, I call it like midterm rental, right? So it's like 30, it could be less than 30 days, but it was 30 plus days. I was getting a lot of bookings from traveling nurses at that time in the beginning, right? Because they were still traveling. Austin still had a great need for medical professionals, and their assignments usually are 13 weeks with the possibility of extension. So it was pretty cool because for the next, I would say 20 months or so, almost 2 years, I had zero vacancy.
Wow.
Like
That's
people
wild.
would move out on 30th and then somebody would move in on the 1st. So like I would have like cleaner come in right after, and then the next day somebody's there, right? And I didn't have to think about a lot of turnovers. I think what attracted this space for a lot of people was the fact that I allowed pets. So they had a lot of dogs with a bigger deposit, security deposits and cleaning fee. Like I had no problem, so it was great. I literally had people all the time, and they're pretty good, tenants. I had a pretty strict criteria in terms of the qualification and references and whatnot. But yeah, it worked out really great. Now I've converted back to Airbnb because I just wanted to test how how it is right now. I might turn it back to midterm rental. Who knows? I'm just going to compare the profits over a few months just to account for seasonality.
So you mentioned something about your qualifications and your screening for the guests on the monthly rentals. I know that's really important for people. Could you talk a little bit more about what you do to screen people and how that's worked out? Yeah.
So I think screening people is probably one of the most important things when you have, guests, especially I'm living here, right? So security is really important. And so I used this website called Avail, which is just Avail. It's AAIL.co. I've used several other platforms, but this just like seamlessly streamlines all of the things. So basically, the process goes, I put it on the listing on Furnish Finder. There's all these people that are interested, right? You get like tons of people. Like I've had over 50 requests at one point during COVID. Yeah, it was crazy. So you would put, you would just like literally send them the link to Avail with your your application. And then what it does is basically it collects all of the informations, like basic informations, like they run credit report, so credit check and your background check. To make sure that you are who you say you are. And then, you have histories of payment on time and all this stuff, and no felonies, et cetera. Ask you all of these questions, right? And then including the references. So basically references of your past landlords, your current employer, your paychecks, your ID, like everything in one place, which makes it really easy for you to go through and compare different candidates. And then my rule is their monthly income needs to be at least 3 times higher than the monthly rent. And if they are new, like for example, if they're like traveling nurses and they've actually never worked with this employer before, then I would make sure that they at least have 5 times the amount of monthly rental income in their bank statement. So they could show their bank statements. I don't allow any co-signers. I don't accept anybody who has like a felony on their record or eviction on their record. And then I call their references like myself to verify that, they're good previous, renters and, good employee.
Love it. That's awesome. So you've done this house hack, and it sounds like, what did you do after the house hack? So the house hack's going really well. You're making good money on that. You were going, and I kind of cut you off and wanted to dive into the master suite conversion, but let's jump back in where we cut off there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the renovation happened, right? So basically this house was really old. And also it was like really outdated, but also really gross. Like imagine every wall was covered with 30 plus years of like nicotine stains, because the person who was living before was just was a heavy smoker. Every room was like, it was trash. Like every room was like blue, purple, like different paint colors. I don't think that like a lot of like heaters and like, HVAC wasn't really updated and wasn't like taken really great care of, things like that. Right. So I renovated the entire place, but salvage as much as I can, because I was paying this all out of my pocket. Right. So I wanted to sort of put, sweat equity in it. So I was here before work in the morning and then after work and, staying until midnight, like scrubbing the floor and doing whatever, right? Learned a lot about construction in this process and like people management, because that's basically the name of the game, right? Yeah. And I had help, of course. And basically, I renovated the whole place. And then turned that into it. I'm living on the other side. Once I started, Airbnb / midterm rentaling it, I was like, this is great. Like, what else can I do? And the agent that I bought the house from, Steph, I think you had her on your podcast. Yes. Her mom actually, Michelle, helped me renovate it, right? So I was like, this is awesome. I saw their business model, which is basically as a family unit, right? They basically buy these houses, renovate it, and put a tiny house in the back, right? So I was like, this is great. Like, I'm going to buy a tiny house again, or like that, right? So I ordered a tiny house online, and I just literally was like, it's so fun. Like I just ordered it online, and it's like you can customize everything, right? And like literally everything. And it's like not as expensive as I thought it was going to be. And you can finance it too. Really? So yeah. And I bought this house with putting the tiny house in the back in mind as well, because I was like, I'm going to have as many units I can fit in. Yeah. So the lot was big enough, and it's a SF3 zone, so I can put it. Yeah. Nice. So it got delayed a little during COVID, but it should be here soon. I'm going through the permitting process right now.
So how much was the tiny house, and could you go into the financing of what that looked like? I'm not familiar with tiny house financing at all. So this is a lesson for me too. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's a really good timing to buy tiny houses these days, because during COVID, they actually saw like explosive demand on tiny house as people were trying to find, more permanent housing solutions that are not apartments, right? Mm-hmm. So, 3-4 years ago, it was pretty hard to find like a, lender that would finance a tiny house, because they deem it as either RV park model. This is like what the official classification is, or modular. And lenders don't like those, right? Because oftentimes they're mobile, they're not tied down to like a foundation. So it's harder to evaluate, it's harder to insure, all that, right? So lenders don't like risk. So back in the day, it was really hard to finance. Now there's a lot more lenders and insurance companies that are willing to finance and insure them, right? So my house after customizing everything, all said and done, it was about 90K. And it's really cute. It's like I would live here, and it's it's a 399 square foot.
Pretty big.
It's pretty big, I want to say. And the reason why it's 399 is because I didn't know this, but if it's under 400 square foot in city of Austin, you don't pay property tax on it.
Oh.
So yeah, so it's $399. It has like 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, living room, kitchen, and then a loft area. So you can even sleep up to like 4 people if you wanted to, which is really, really cool, right? Definitely great like configuration for Airbnb. And then you can finance it. So I'm planning on like living there for a little, nice. So that because I want to take advantage of like the owner occupied loan. So if you're owner occupied, you can put down as little as 10%.
Okay.
90,000, which means 9,000. And there's like hardly any closing costs. It's not like regular house, like mortgage.
Okay. Do you know what the down payment percentage is for non-owner occupants? Is it like a normal 20 or 25?
It's I want to say it's 15 or 20%. I'm not sure. It's not 25. I don't think.
Okay. Still, that's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
You're smart to live in it for a while though, too, to take advantage of that low down payment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So Chloe, what initially got you interested in real estate investing? I know we talked a little bit. You got started in your first house. Where'd you get the idea to Airbnb the room?
I guess, well, so I saw other people do it first, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Lots of Airbnbs. When I was living in Houston, whenever me and my friends, we came to Austin a lot, just to visit. And we all stayed in Airbnb, and I loved the experience of, it was an accommodation that wasn't like hotel in a sense that you felt like you were a local, right? Yeah. And I love that whole experience that you got just by using, Airbnb, living in somebody else's house, and you have all of these things that, that you need, right? Everything from utensils to cooking to TVs or whatever, right? And it's usually in a location that's very good for going out or going to restaurants. So I love just the idea of Airbnb. And whenever I was sort of whenever I was like sort of listening to all these podcasts and reading and talking to a lot of people, going to a lot of networking events, I saw that there's a lot of people doing it, first of all. And second, since I'm a data scientist, I'm a data person, right? And I was looking at all of these data, and they're just like so much demand, right? Historical pattern was like, even during COVID, I mean, there's the demand and the people that are traveling here or moving here or temporarily moving here to see if they want to live here, it was just off the chart, right? So just looking at these data and crunching numbers for underwriting, I was like, I mean, if you can make Airbnb work, it's such a good model to have cash flow, right? Because as we all know, Austin is really hard to cash flow with like a traditional long-term rental. So you have to be a little creative. And I thought Airbnb is so, it hits all the right spot, right? It sort of, it's a great for me doing sort of like the underwriting, right? The math side of it. I loved it. I love it. And then also the creative side with the designing and furnishing. And, I was like, this is really fun. I'm going to do some more fun stuff. And Airbnb was that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think, you mentioned Austin is really hard to cash flow on long-term rentals.
Yeah.
You also did monthly rentals. We encourage a lot of people to do that. And then you listed all the reasons of why people are coming here for short-term periods or monthly periods. There's so many of them. There's so many people moving here. There's so many people saying, I want to check it out. Or, hey, it's cold in New England in the winter. I want to come down to Texas for a month or two. There's just too many reasons to count why people would come here and spend longer periods of time here.
Yeah.
Even if that's a couple of weeks or a month,
Absolutely.
it's just such an awesome strategy to make cash flow or make rental property work in Austin, where you can bank on the amazing appreciation we've gotten and also get some cash flow too.
Yes.
Really cool stuff. Do you have any advice for people on anything that maybe you did wrong or something that's gone wrong in your real estate investing? Of advice on how to avoid that?
Like a bad deal. I think
bad deals or problems you've run into.
Yeah, I would say one thing I learned from just being in sort of like a construction, right, like industry is that always have everything in writing, right? I know like legal stuff was like really intimidating to me in the beginning. You know, hiring an attorney was like very intimidating. I was like, how much is this person going to cost? Like, you know, it was just a lot of unknown. But I would say having those like operating agreements, contracts, everything in writing, even if it's like an email or a text message, is really important, I think, in order to minimize the risk of, you know, sort of things going wrong. And then second, you know, people, right? I've had a lot of, whenever I was, you know, going through a renovation on my primary, I've just had a lot of experiences of, and this is not a bad deal per se, because I think you can make any deal good or bad. But, you know, what almost turned me off to the real estate investing was like how some people just didn't stand by their word. So like a lot of contractors, they would say, oh yeah. Like I can come by this, you know, today, tomorrow, whatever. So I'm like having all of these scheduled planned, right? And I also have a W-2 job. So I have to be at that job. And then they would just like not show up, or they would do really bad quality work. So like, you know, like I was tiling my, you know, shower, and then like, I guess they didn't like line up the pipes correctly. So it wasn't like flushing, or like the water wasn't going through and things like that. Somebody has to come in and, you know, you have to stand by your word of your service. Right. And then they would just ghost me. Right. Or like, they would look at me and they would go like, hey, like they just decided that I wasn't a decision maker, even though I was the one who's paying them. Cause like they look at me and, you know, I am a person of color. I'm a woman. I'm pretty small. Right. And then they were like, oh, must be not worth talking to. So they would just like walk past me, and then they would like ask some guy that was like, you know, my guy friend or something, or other contractor or whatever. Right. And so I don't know, like a lot of these like experiences almost turned me off because there was a lot of stress, right? Like trying to track down people, like, you know, arguing people over things that they said that they were going to do and not do it, was like pretty stressful. Yeah. So I would say just have like a tough skin. Work on having your tough skin, because don't take it personally, because it is the business, right? Business side of things.
Yeah, especially right now, I'm finding that more and more is that everybody's so in demand that they're just not really going to treat you so well in every case. And having the tough skin really helps. And then you mentioned contracts too. Have everything documented, have contracts for everything, and make sure you can hold these people these contracts. That makes your life a lot easier. Yeah,
absolutely. So important.
There will be a time when everybody wants to do work for us, but it's not right now. You know, there's more work than they could ever need, and then nobody needs to work hard for you or show up on time or any of that stuff. But sometime that'll change, and we'll be saying, hey, you know, come when I want you to, and do it for the price I want. Really,
I don't know when that's going to be in Austin, but
I don't either. It might be a long time.
Yeah, long time.
Hopefully I'm still around when that happens again.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned construction here a little bit. What are you doing on the construction front?
Hey guys, this is Jordan Moorhead here, and I wanted to ask if you could do a huge favor for me. If you could go leave a review for this podcast wherever you're listening to it, That would really help me get this into the hands of other people that are interested in information about Austin real estate investing, and I'd be able to help more people. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So during COVID, since my my W-2 job went 100% remote, so we used to have an office in downtown, and then we went fully remote. So I was sort of like, okay, I have more time on my hand. What can I do? And I was actually trying to see what can I do that has the best ROI on my time, right? That would sort of have a, outsized gain on, with my input as my time, right? Because ultimately what was most important for me to plan for the future is financial and time, independence, right? That freedom, it was what I was, going for. And I was like, I looked at renovation, right? I looked at sort of like, other people do flipping, they renovate house and they hold it. And I was like crunching numbers and also, looking at my time spent on there. And so I looked at it and I was like, it just, the numbers just don't work. It just is like, if I get into flipping, I'm just buying another job basically. Yeah. And then renovating, I was just like, that's a headache and I'm just not excited about it. Right. And so I was doing a lot of, like networking, a lot of educating myself, reading, listening to podcasts. And then I sort of came down to new construction, right? And I knew that it was high risk, high reward sort of a situation because you do need a lot more capital to get into the game. But I looked at the numbers and, just the built-in equity that you get is amazing, right? Especially within where I'm investing. I'm solely investing in East Austin and 78702. Okay. And it's just is developing very fast. There's a lot of comps and you know that you're going to hit your ARV pretty easily. And also sort of my decision was so I started this residential construction company because one of the reasons was because of my mom, right? So I'm from Korea. I was born and raised there until I was 12 before I came here. And my mom growing up, we always had nannies because my mom actually started a commercial construction company when I was little with my uncle. Yeah. And back in the day, it was in the 90s. And back in the day, like Korea was pretty conservative. So like women weren't, that wasn't a thing that women did, right? If a woman had a job, it was like a teacher or nurse or something, right? Or staying at home mom. It wasn't starting a commercial construction company.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah. So I grew up sort of seeing my mom being this like a badass woman, like a businesswoman. And I was just thinking that's like really cool. And I didn't really think much about it back then. But, whenever I was doing this soul searching of like, what should I do next? Right. I think subconsciously sort of she was my role model for constructing this business. Right. And I knew that I could do it. Right. Because I don't know. I just did a lot of educating myself. And I knew that I could do it. I knew a lot of stuff already. And I knew that I knew a lot of people in the industry that if I needed help, I could turn to them. Because, like in Austin, one of the things I love most about Austin is that people are so down to help and they're so helpful and they're amazing, right? Especially in real estate industry, like everybody is so amazing. So I knew that I had somebody to turn to if I needed help. Right. So I was like, how hard could it be? Like other people are doing it.
Sure.
So I found a business partner and then we bought a lot and we started, building.
That's awesome. Is your mom still in the construction industry and where is she?
She's in Korea. So these buildings that she was building were in Korea. She was building like 30 to 50 story buildings and then leasing out individual units.
That's really impressive.
Yeah. She has to close down the business when she got sick when I was in college. So she had to close down. But up until then, I think she really liked it.
Awesome. So you said you bought a lot in your building. Have you finished or have you started building yet?
Yeah, so we are going to be done. Estimated completion is mid-May. Mm-hmm. So I guess we can put on the show note like my Instagram, which I do like a regular updates of like what the progress was and things that are happening. But yeah, right now there are 2 units, there are walls, there's, where I think we're going to install cabinets and countertops soon. Most of the materials are already purchased or chosen. So it should be done soon. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
You never know in the city of Boston.
Yeah. And especially with supply chains right now, are you running into any issues getting materials? I know we ordered windows for a property last July. Wow. Yes. And we just got them a month ago. Yeah.
Windows are tough. That's why we order like 5 months in advance, because I was like, I'm not going to take chances.
Yeah.
We fortunately have great builders that are our partners that have sort of guided us with sort of this, plan of, okay, we've seen this happening. You should probably order windows very soon, early on, all this stuff. So, we've actually ran into some supply chain issues. So I think as a developer, what my job is to make builders' job easier, right? So whenever these things like supply chain issues come, so for example, like about like 2 months ago, they could figure most of the stuff out, but they were having really hard time locating 18 inches like floor trusses, which just basically is like when there's a roof, there's floor trusses that are like supporting the roof. So you need those like in order to construct any sort of roof. Right. Yeah. And they were having a hard time, and they're saying like, like the project could be like delayed by a month and a half, because that's when we're expecting, and we can't do anything else before this thing comes. And I was like, wow. So I actually, this is why I sort of love real estate people, is like, I just look around and I called a bunch of people. Like I know some other developers they're building, and one of my friends, she's a developer in Austin and San Antonio. She had a person that she always buys these from, and then turns out he had a lot of extra on hand that he could deliver the next day. Wow. So the next week we were on track, right? So we were, we lost about a week, but way better than the month and a half that we were going to lose. So, that's why I love networking. I love meeting new people, and, trying to help and add value in anywhere I can, because it's going to come back to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had a mentor a long time ago tell me your network is your net worth. And that's always stuck with me. It really makes so much sense.
Absolutely.
Awesome. That's really cool. Saved your month and a half. So you guys are doing awesome stuff. You've got a new build coming, hopefully mid-May here. What's next for you? What are your long-term goals? What's your vision for real estate? Are you going to continue to work the W-2 and also do this on the side? Or is the W-2 going to go away sometime? What are you doing next?
Yeah, immediately, I have no plan of quitting my data scientist job. I actually love being a data scientist. It's so cool.
That's awesome.
Like machine learning and AI is the future, I think. And it is really exciting to see the progress, that are happening daily, monthly, right? And it's just, I think it's so exciting. And I enjoy the job, right? I love coding. I love, training models. I love, sort of doing all of this, adding exponential value to the bottom line of the business, right? So I don't have any immediate plan of quitting that. I think in the future, I would love to see if I can start a startup based on my, combining my two passions, which is, like machine learning and real estate, right? So maybe it might be looking like a prop tech company or something, right? But I think that could be really awesome. More immediate plan is I am building more. So I want to turn it into a scaling business, right? Mm-hmm. So I started sort of looking for equity partners so up until now, sort of me and my business partner that I built this current project with, we paid this out of pocket, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that anymore because I want to scale. And
you can't scale that way.
Yeah. So right now I am, so I have one equity partner that we're partnering, and we will probably build, 2 to 4 more this year. And then there are other equity partners that I'm meeting that, we probably will buy more. Good thing is there are enough lots to go around. Surprisingly enough, it's not as hard as, finding a good, house, right? Because I can build it on like a tear down house, right? The lot just has to be very buildable. So my immediate plan is to scale the new construction business and build a lot more of these AB units, and also build the Airbnb business. So one thing that's really important for me, because I am still younger and still in a early stage of my career, is having enough equity, right? So we're not selling these. We're actually, I don't know if you've heard like build to rent model.
Oh, yeah.
It has gotten pretty popular lately with the property prices that are rising. So we're employing those, and we're going to convert these new builds into either Airbnb or midterm rental, depending on the usage. So we're going to furnish it. We're designing everything with that, sort of rental in mind, right? And how I imagine is it's going to be a brand. So there's a standard as to how these are going to be designed, how these, the guests are the feeling that they get once they step into the house. It needs to be their second home away from their home, right? And really thoughtful touches in terms of finishes, in terms of a floor plan, in terms of everything, right? How they're using it. This will be, the Airbnb business will be separate from the new build. And then so I want to scale it as big as I can until some other opportunity comes along. I would love to keep building, whether that be in residential like right now, or in commercial. So eventually I want to get into the commercial level. And I think development is just so fun. So I want to keep doing it.
Yeah, and you've got a great role model in your mom doing that too. So
yes,
you've already got the plan laid out for you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool. Do you have a favorite business or mindset book that you like to recommend, Chloe?
Have you wanted to be part of GoBundance, the tribe of millionaires, but just haven't hit that millionaire status yet? Well, now you can, not even being a millionaire, by joining our new program, GoBundance Emerge. My name's Jamie Gruber, creator of GoBundance Emerge and member of the GoBundance community. And now you can join. GoBundance.com/emerge, GoBundance.com/emerge. Use code Jordan for $100 off this 12-week goal-setting program and mastermind that'll propel you to being a whole life millionaire.
Yeah. So I think one of the books that sort of really opened my mind about my mindset was The Gap and the Gain.
Yep.
So I read this. So I did like a 75 hard challenge this year, and I read it in the beginning, and it really changed my mindset about a lot of things, that how I was looking at life. So for me, I think investing is a long-term game, game, and your mindset is the most important thing, because it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? And I think when you have a great mindset, there's going to be a lot of challenges in real estate investing, right?
Yeah.
Because we get paid for solving problems. So there's a lot of things that we have to deal with. And without a right mindset, it's really easy to get into this negative ways of thinking, right? Like not trusting, be really wary of other people, not trusting, thinking that everything's going to go wrong. That's going to really hinder you into taking these like big calculated risks that you need to take in order to find a big ROI in your effort, right? So this book basically is pointing out that a lot of people, when they think about life, they look at what they're lacking, right? So they compare themselves to other people. Oh, he is getting promoted right now. He has this car. He's going to all these like vacations, and I'm not doing it. So that therefore I must not be successful. But reality, like if you look at all of the things that you've done, and in the past up to how you got to where you are, you actually have a lot to be proud of, right?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times it's really hard to see that, right? Because you're just always in the mindset of I'm not doing enough. And I think a lot of high achievers, like entrepreneurs, can get into this trap of thinking, oh, I'm not doing enough. And they're just grinding until they achieve some goal that you set, but you're still not happy, right?
Is The Gap in the Game the book that talks about writing down the 3 wins from the day or from yesterday? So I know I journal every morning, and I'm not sure where I got it from, because I read a lot of books, but I write down 3 wins from the day before every morning.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
And I think I got that from The Gap in the Game. I can't remember.
Yeah, but I mean, that's great, because that actually forces you to be in a habit of thinking about what you have achieved, right? Whether it be small or not, you still have something that you can point out and say, hey, I did that yesterday, and I think that's so good. Yeah.
And a buddy of mine recently posted on Instagram, hey, don't compare your chapter 2 to somebody else's chapter 10. So
I love
you're
that.
doing so good right now, and you have all these achievements that you've created and made for yourself, and maybe every day you're doing something great, but you see somebody else, especially on social media, driving the Porsche or vacationing all the time or in this brand new big house, and you're like, well, I'm not there. But look at where they came from to get there, and it's probably right what you're doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about like the frame of mind, right? And I think it's really important to recognize what you have done and what you have accomplished. And because, that's going to be the driver for you to keep going, right? That fuel for you to keep going, to dream bigger, right? Because I think what a lot of these books that I've been reading have been saying is like, whatever you put your energy to, whatever you think that is possible, whatever you set your mind to be, you're probably going to achieve that. Right. Or whatever you think you can't do, you probably can't do. Right. So it's all about mindset, I think, in terms of real estate investing and beyond in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. I also was on a webinar yesterday, and they were talking about people tend to compare what they did in the past to what they can do today. Luckily, you saw your mom build 50-story towers, so you're like, I can do that. But people say, hey, I ran 3 miles or 2 weeks ago, so I think I can run 3 miles again, rather than, hey, I think I'm going to go run 12 miles, because I know people run 12 miles and I can do that too.
Yeah.
It's so important to have that mindset, like you're talking about. Hey, I can do whatever I want to do. What do I need to go do to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So important.
Love it. So, Chloe, you mentioned Instagram earlier. What are the best ways to get a hold of you, or just follow you and figure out what you're doing?
Yeah. So my Instagram handle is chloekwon.re. So it's CHLOEKWON.RE. I'm not the best at social media, but I'm learning. So I think I made my first reel like this weekend, nice. Which I'm so proud of. So I'm doing like regular updates of, the new builds and sort of mindset things, what books I'm reading and things like that. Updating over there. You can also email me. Email probably is the best way to get a hold of me, because I sometimes don't check like the messages of Instagram. So my email address is Chloe, so CHLOE.S as in Sam .KWON@gmail.
All right. And we'll have all this in the show notes for everybody. Anybody wants to reach out to Chloe or just follow Chloe on Instagram, we'll make sure to have that there. All right, Chloe, most important question we have for you today. What is your favorite restaurant in Austin?
Okay, this is a struggle because I know a lot of people have already mentioned a lot of places. So I'm gonna go with something that probably another person hasn't done.
Okay.
So this is actually the first restaurant that I've been in Austin. It's called the Peach Tortilla.
Yeah.
By like Burnett. Have you been?
Yeah, I love peach tortilla.
Yeah, they have like the bar peached in Clarksville as well, which is like a bar version. Austin is getting better, but it's not nowhere near like Houston in terms of Asian food, like authentic food. But when I like went to the Peach Tortilla, it wasn't authentic, but like it was just such a great fusion of Asian food that I was like, this is so great. Like it opened my eyes into thinking, okay, like I can do fusion,
Awesome. Yeah, lots of fusions around here, that's for sure. So you'll find some interesting stuff. You might not find the more traditional foods that you might be looking for, but you'll definitely find some really interesting, amazing, delicious fusions.
Absolutely.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on here today, Chloe.
Thanks for
having me. We will be following you on Instagram and keeping up with this new build coming May.
Awesome. Well, it was so great meeting you and talking to you, Jordan. Talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon.